approaching St. Paul Lutheran Church and School for spiritual nutrition, and we'll be reading from Bible verse for today's little segment. We can call it maybe like a little sermon. And Linda's going to read it right here. Go ahead, Linda. What's it say?
Do everything in the name of Jesus.
That's Colossians 3:17.
Hate evil, cling to what is God. Hate evil, cling to what is... Oh, good.
What is
Hate
that?
evil, cling to what is
What people don't realize is I'm actually listening to Radiohead's The Numbers and watching it off of YouTube on P.T. Anderson's directed debut of, well, The Numbers by Radiohead. One reason is I can't show that at the same time I film, so I just turn the radio on. Because the Bluetooth doesn't connect the right way. So like I got the camera on, so I can't show what I'm really listening to, which is on YouTube. I listen to music off of YouTube. I'm not even listening to that song. That sign said orange alert, unhealthy something, unhealthy air, orange, whatever orange alert is. Do 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 bang 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 do 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 bang 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 do 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 do. So with my reading of The Projectionist, what I'm going to do is very simple. All the scenes would be read independently and be posted independently, so that there can be no copyright issues at all with music. Okay? Then I'd have a master scene or a master reading of those readings all put together and edited with the music and released. Then I'd have another master scene edited and released without the music, with just music goes here. And so it would fade, and then it would fade up, and it would show where the music goes in. So how it would work is that all the independent scenes that were posted, which I don't really have to do it that way. Actually, to be honest, I could do it that way. I may do it that way, but I could do it two different ways. I've talked about this before in previous posts. So if I did one way with the music, of course, I'm going to have interference because copyright's going to come up. The second way I would do it, I would just show where the music is supposed to be inserted. So I would just flash, a blank background showing the white letters, music, and, for example, Last Wish by the Chromatics, or, Sun Ray, Nuclear War, or Under Your Spell by Desire. Another one, Tick of the Clock, is in one of the last sequences with the SWAT. So that would just show, you would see where it would show the scene, and then it would show where the music is supposed to start, and then it would go into the reading. That's safe because no copyright issues with the music at all. The other version of the reading would have the music, and if there's slight underscore, like an L cut, I can include that. But it's best, if possible, to have a recording on Zoom microphone where it's all audio. Okay, so what that means is that it's all audio for one for one recording. I like that idea because it brings in theatrics to it, and it's a reading, and like I did with my other play readings, I did the 3 other big play readings of Hidden Drive and Russian Butterfly, and the third one in store. I told the actors, I said, look, once I hit start, we're not stopping. So this one actress, she had her phone on, and some major sequence starts in Russian Butterfly, where the protagonist is encountered, the authorities show up and stuff like that. Well, her phone went off in the play reading, and it was, some kind of jingle. So that stayed, it stayed. Whatever happened stayed in the recording. So the reason why is it's very simple. It's because that recording is it's not necessarily one byte per se. I don't want to get all the computer geeks mad at me, but it's one recording. That's one segment on a file. And I don't have a lot of sound editing software. I use everything through iMovie when it comes to, I could use GarageBand and maybe mess with it, but I don't know much about it. I know a lot about iMovie that's dealing with visual and audio. Now, in this case, if I did the reading with the Projectionist, I probably would have some trouble, especially with lip sync, if I try to record the whole 2.5 hour reading, or 2 hour reading, or an hour reading, however long it's going to take, depending on the actors and everything. And I don't get a lot of rehearsals. As a matter of fact, with the other readings, I got really no rehearsals, just a kind of a talk to the actors. And then we began. I hit record and we began. And I ran the soundboard, and I ran all the whole thing through using SoundCloud and Spotify on pre-recording. They weren't really pre-recording tracks. They're already pre-recorded. I just pressed a button when they were supposed to come on. And the SoundCloud has every sound imaginable, everything from a door opening to a car starting. So I can just have that all on a thread and just hit the button and go through just like you would do a play. And I like that idea. Now, of course, I don't have time to explain a lot of things to the actors. So in, Russian Butterfly, the police officers, in the authority figures, it sounded like Mayberry, because I didn't have a lot of time to tell the actor I wanted this to be more Brian De Palma, or I wanted it to be more Martin Scorsese, right? I'd have time to maybe talk to them more about that, because I made a mistake by not giving them enough direction at the beginning. Like, I want this to sound very real. And when the time came, the actors, the actor that chose to play the police officer in that scene in Russian Butterfly started sounding like it was Mayberry, 1950 police officer. Well, what? And that just is something I had to go with. I'm sitting there cringing, going, it's not that type style, you know. So you have to get on the same level with the actors. Say, look, I want this to sound like Martin Scorsese. I want this to sound like Brian De Palma. I want this to sound very real, or, you know, I guess you could say Terrence Malick. I don't know, very real sounding. What different type of director sounding, you know, like sounds like a real authority figure or whatever, you know. So in this case with The Projectionist, it is a Brian De Palma sounding kind of film kind of thing. But I don't expect Brian De Palma for this to land on his script and say, this is my kind of thing. No, I'm not saying that it's a Brian De Palma film. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying it's Blowout. I'm not saying that. But it's inspired by that genre a little bit. Okay? Because Blowout had a certain style, but not like Snake Eyes, Brian De Palma, right? Blowout had a style where it was a fun thriller, but it was a real thriller. But especially back then, people that watched it probably were really blown away by Blowout. Now you watch it, blown away, but not like Silence of the Lambs or something like that, you know. And I wouldn't want to say that it's exactly like Blowout, because it's not. It's its own thing. The Projectionist started in 1995, and it kind of, when I wrote it, it was like almost something like maybe I barely had really known about Jim Jarmusch, or Jill Jarmusch kind of thing. This is really cool what happens right here. And if I were to direct it, which I might, I of course would probably do it different than another director. Let's say if Gus Van Sant got a hold of it, which I don't know if he does a lot of other work. P.T. Anderson only does his own. He only writes his own, does his own stuff. You know, he writes his own stuff and only directs his own stuff. So I'm saying, you know, who would I give this to? I may give it to Gus Van Sant, or I may give it to P.T. Anderson kind of person. I'm not saying I'm going to really give it to them, but I'm saying, like, when you write a script, you don't have complete control over it. Who would you give it to? It would be a big fight between Gus Van Sant and P.T. Anderson, because they're two different generations nearly. You know, Fincher, I don't know, because there's a kookiness to it. Of course, you know, if Lynch got a hold of it, it would come out, you know, he always does his own stuff, right? It'd go in a different direction. So, you know, I have to think a lot about it. And I have to tell the actors, you know, it's not them, it's me, it's my thing. And if it was my first feature, which I hope that it would be, I would really, you know, sorry you have to look at my nose hairs, but I would probably would maybe want to try to be behind it. I would probably mention Brian De Palma and maybe a reading, you know, Blowout especially. But I would probably also mention, you know, Jonathan Demme. Because after all, one of the main characters is named Ali Starlings, you know. I really did get obsessed with this screenplay when I wrote it. I was very obsessed with it. Lots of music, and it may be too much. You know, it could be too much. There's a lot of music in it, a lot of music, and I'm inspired by the chromatics, especially, and the film Drive is a big influence with Rethen. A big influence. You know, you just have to read The Projectionist to understand where it's coming from, because remember, it evolved. I gotta turn the thing off and switch over in a minute, but it evolved all from like a Jim Jarmusch kind of, almost like if you've seen Permanent Vacation or one of his early works. It was originally supposed to be kind of a student film that was, you know, it developed over time.
1081, first window, thank you.
So that's called the C.R. Smith Museum. They've got cool planes in there. I took my kids there to look at the planes. So you go inside to look at these old planes from a long time ago, like really old. But it's called the C.R. Smith Museum. It's right here off of FAA, which is pretty much where the planes take off every day. Brought by Skyview 3 and 4, American Airlines. Basically, it's a museum, and it's really cool. If you're really into American Airlines, it's actually a really cool little museum. Yeah, this is like right, pretty much flight attendant school and pilot training, or maybe not, I don't really know, but they call this Transformation Way. This is called Skyview. It's a little complex. I've done some stuff on my Samsung. You see all this cactus right here. I think she was probably maybe a flight attendant in training or something like that. Or they come here to train, and they have like a little hotel that they use only for the flight attendants and for pilots only, which is down that way. Can't really see it, but this is part of the whole complex. It's garage 7, and this guy's, I don't know what he's doing. He's probably they're probably trimming the garden all through here. But it's right off American Boulevard, which really should be called American Airlines Boulevard, but that's part of it down that way. It's a pretty neat little area. So basically it's called Robert Crandall Campus, Skyview. It's American Airlines. Little campus is really what it is. What's interesting is back in college, when I was at Wesleyan, I used to sell long distance for AT&T right there. It's interesting because Kurt Cobain was trying to buy a 1965 Dodge Dart. This is actually a newer version of that. Thing has been on my car all freaking day. I've even got on the highway and everything. It's just kind of stuck there. This is brought to you by Reliant. I mean, I'm saying living, L-I-V-I-N, man. That's what I'm talking about. Reliant right there, baby. Reliant hero. You know what my hero is? My hero's me in the future. Reliant, man. I'm telling you, Reliant is the way. It is the way to choose, man, if you're gonna get air conditioning. I'm talking Reliant. My hero's my future me in the future. know you can see, but that's a Titan, Six Flags. We're passing by Texas, well, Six Flags. All right, like I said earlier, we would be passing the great Six Flags over Texas, which is the original Six Flags. The far, far left is the Joker. Now, as we cross Superman, we go, or actually not Superman, I'm sorry, I don't know what that is. But this one right here, I believe is Batman. That one's Batman. Then it goes to, I don't really know what that ride is. I haven't been there in a long time. That one actually is Superman. So it looks a lot like the other one. Then we go to the Shockwave and the Oil Derrick. You can see the Giant is running. There goes the Shockwave. The Giant is running. It has, a few people have died on that one. The Titan is way over there. So I don't know anything about it. It's running too. So it looks like Six Flags is running. And as we go through past Collins, we look to our right and we're dealing with Hurricane Harbor, which is another version of Six Flags. So I guess if you get a pass to Six Flags, it may work at Hurricane Harbor as well. But you probably won't see me in a bikini. Then, if you go down this way, you look over that way, you're seeing Globe Life, the brand new Globe Life, and then in the distance there, you're seeing AT&T at the very top right there. You just can't really see it. They also have these little emblems and things they put on the wall right here, which you don't see it here, but looking at this stuff from the highway, really, but they had it along the walls here, which show like 1950 cars, Texas scenes that they kind of almost similar to murals, but they're more like I guess you could call them a mural. It's more of like a engraving, and that right there, if I'm not mistaken, is an engraving of the Cowboys and Tom Landry because of the hat. You can see. Looks like a possible like Carvana trip. What's interesting about...
Watch out. Vehicle on shoulder ahead.
Oh, there's vehicles right ahead of me. What's interesting about Carvana, and you can see, I don't know if that's Carvana, but Carvana actually delivers the car to you. So you just kind of, get on the computer, make the purchase, and they just bring the car to you. I've always wondered the process. Do they mail the keys to you first and then drop the car off, or do they hand the keys to you? It's a very strange kind of thing. But, and there's another one called Vroom, where you don't even really have to go to the dealership, if you don't want to. I mean, you can, of course you can. There's advantages to that. But it's making me think, kind of like Blockbuster. If you ever heard of the Blockbuster, the last Blockbuster, which is out in Oregon. But there was a threat there, because I personally would like to try the car out, see what's going on. A lot of people would, but I don't know. Blockbuster, what happened with Blockbuster was you no longer needed to go to Blockbuster to rent or purchase a movie. You could go to Blockbuster, walk around, look at the back of the jacket of the movie, kind of study it, get a vibe, kind of a feeling. And really the only option you get from that now, or the only way that you can do that now, is through going to Family Video, which you can find sometimes around, and maybe half-price books or something, or a bookstore maybe that's, if you find a Barnes and Noble or something like that, maybe. It's weird. It's like record stores too. You can't even really go into a record store anymore and kind of browse through the record. Listen, you can find one or two maybe near you. There's a big one in Dallas, a warehouse one called Josie Records. And you can browse through records all day and listen to music if you'd like. Some rock stars even worked at record stores, and same with bookstores are becoming rare too, you know. So it's a weird thing, because the whole idea about Amazon being the big tech where you just get online and they just drop it off, you know, drop everything off right at your door.